So recently, I actually met with my one of the old friend, and then we actually had a little bit chat about our lives. So in one time, he mentioned that in order to live the life we are expecting, we need to have a good set of values. And then it actually triggers me that even though I heard this word called values so many times in my life, still I don't have any clear idea about what does it really means.
So recently, I actually met one of my old friends and we had a little chat about our lives. At one point, he mentioned that in order to live the life we are expecting, we need to have a good set of values. That triggered me to realize that even though I have heard the word values so many times in my life, I still don't have a clear idea of what it really means. Feedback. 1. One of the old friend corrected to one of my old friends for proper word order. 2. A little bit chat changed to a little chat for natural phrasing. 3. It actually triggers me. Changed to that triggered me to use the correct tense and phrasing. 4. What does it really mean? Changed to what it really means for sentence clarity and grammar. That's an interesting thought. What do you think values mean, or how would you define them?
I'm not exactly sure what does it values mean. I think they are set of skills or some kind of philosophy that we need to follow in order to have a good life. Anyway, what is your opinion about, or what is your explanation about the values? Because I really don't have any clear idea, even though I heard this word so many times in my life.
I'm not exactly sure what values mean. I think they are a set of skills or some kind of philosophy that we need to follow in order to have a good life. Anyway, what is your opinion or explanation of values? Because I really don't have a clear idea, even though I have heard this word so many times in my life. Feedback. 1. What does it values mean? Change to what values mean for correct word order and grammar. 2. Some kind of philosophy, simplified to some kind of philosophy for fluency. 3. What is your opinion about, or what is your explanation about the values? Adjusted to what is your opinion or explanation of values for clarity and conciseness. Values are the principles or beliefs that guide our decisions and behavior in life. They can include honesty, kindness, hard work, or even personal growth. They help shape how we interact with others and what we prioritize in life. Does this align with what you were thinking?
Not quite, because I was think that the value means some kind of a philosophy or a religious type of things, but thank you for correcting me. And my question would be, is the values are aligned with what we really want to achieve in our life, or how we want to live our life?
Not quite, because I was thinking that values mean some kind of philosophy or religious type of thing, but thank you for correcting me. My question is, are values aligned with what we really want to achieve in our life, or how we want to live our life? Feedback. 1. The value means change to values mean for subject-verb agreement and plural form. 2. Some kind of a philosophy or religious type of things. Adjusted to some kind of philosophy or religious type of thing for clarity and grammar. 3 is the values aligned, corrected to our values aligned for subject-verb agreement. Yes, values are deeply connected to what we want to achieve and how we want to live. They act as a compass, guiding us toward our goals and ensuring our actions align with our true priorities and beliefs. What do you think your core values might be?
Honestly, I really don't have any idea about what are my core values, and that is why I decided to make this discussion as well. Because recently I watched an interview about this personal development, and that interview actually the lecturer talk about the values. So he mentioned that particularly if you don't know what are your values, or if you don't have if you don't have any idea about what are the values you have, think about what kind of life do you want, and do the reverse engineering in order to achieve that life. What are the certain type of principles or the values that you need to have? So what he meant by this statement, because I was confused that if we think about our future, then will we be able to define our values?
Correct version. Honestly, I really don't have any idea about what my core values are. And that's why I decided to have this discussion. Recently, I watched an interview about personal development. And in that interview, the lecturer talked about values. He mentioned that if you don't know what your values are, or if you have no idea about them, think about the kind of life you want and reverse engineer it. To achieve that life, consider the principles or values you need to have. What did he mean by this statement? I was confused. If we think about our future, can we really define our values? Feedback 1. What are my core values? Change to what my core values are for correct word order. 2. Decided to make this discussion. Adjusted to decided to have this discussion for natural phrasing. 3. In that interview, actually the lecturer. Simplified to, and in that interview, the lecturer for fluency. 4. If you don't have any idea, fix to avoid repetition. 5. What are the certain type of principles or the values? Simplified to the principles or values for clarity. 6. Will we be able to define our values? Change to, can we really define our values for smoother phrasing? What the lecturer meant is that by imagining the life you want, you can identify the principles or behaviors necessary to achieve it. For example, if you want a life of strong relationships, values like honesty or empathy might become essential. Does this perspective help clarify things for you?
Yeah, it quite helped me. But can you explain me what does he meant by do the reverse engineering? Is it something similar to looking back what you want to do by looking at your future or something like that?
Yeah, it helped me quite a bit. But can you explain what he meant by do the reverse engineering? Is it something similar to looking back at what you want to do by imagining your future or something like that? Feedback 1. What does he meant? Corrected to what he meant for proper tense and structure. 2. Looking back what you want to do by looking at your future. Adjusted to looking back at what you want to do by imagining your future for clarity and natural phrasing. Yes, that's exactly it. Reverse engineering means starting with the end goal in mind, your ideal future, and then figuring out the steps or values needed to achieve that. It's like working backward to understand what principles or actions will help you reach that vision. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so based on this strategy, let's suppose I want to have a good financial stability in my future. So what kind of values should I have? For example, I have this idea I need to have a value that saving money and as well as good financial literacy to understand the financial situations in the economy, because it will help me to manage my wealth well and stay in the financially independent.
Yeah. So based on this strategy, let's suppose I want to have good financial stability in the future. What kind of values should I have? For example, I think I need to value saving money as well as financial literacy to understand economic situations. This will help me manage my wealth well and stay financially independent. Feedback 1. In my future, simplified to in the future for natural phrasing. 2. I need to have a value that saving money. Adjusted to, I need to value saving money for correct usage. 3. As well as good financial literacy to understand the financial situations in the economy. Simplified to, as well as financial literacy to understand economic situations for conciseness. 4. Stay in the financially, independent. Corrected to stay financially independent for smoother phrasing. You're on the right track. Along with saving and financial literacy, values like discipline, patience, and long-term thinking are also essential. They help you resist impulsive spending and focus on sustainable financial growth. Do you already practice any of these?
Not yet, but I'm willing to apply some of the values to my life as well. And there is another question that I encounter, which is the how can we actually distinguish the our habitual behaviors from the values that we need to follow? Because I feel like these honesty, kindness, and integrity, some of them are really like our habitual behavior. Because if a person is used to keep lying to other people, he eventually become a person who has this habitual behavior of lying, and it might sometimes conflict with the value as a person that he need to follow of being honest with other people. So I found there is some conflict between these habitual behaviors and the values that we need to follow, but I don't know whether it is correct or not. So can you help me to clarify or understand this situation?
Corrected version. Not yet. But I am willing to apply some of these values to my life. I have another question. How can we distinguish our habitual behaviors from the values we need to follow? I feel like honesty, kindness, and integrity sometimes seem like habitual behaviors. For example, if a person is used to lying to others, they eventually develop a habitual behavior of lying, which might conflict with the value of being honest. So I feel there is a conflict between habitual behaviors and the values we need to follow. But I'm not sure if this is correct. Can you help me clarify or understand the situation? Feedback 1. The how can we actually distinguish? Simplified to how can we distinguish for natural phrasing. 2. This honesty, kindness, and integrity, some of them are really like our habitual behavior. Adjusted to honesty, kindness, and integrity sometimes seem like habitual behaviors for clarity. 3. He eventually become a person who has this habitual behavior of lying. Changed to they eventually develop a habitual behavior of lying for correct grammar and inclusive language. 4. The value as a person that he need to follow of being honest. Simplified to the value of being honest for conciseness. You're absolutely right that habitual behaviors and values can sometimes conflict. Habits are automatic actions shaped by repeated behavior, while values are conscious principles we strive to follow. A person might develop bad habits like lying, which contradict the value of honesty. However, values are aspirational and can guide us to change our habits. With awareness and effort, someone can align their habits with their values over time. Does this make sense?
Yeah, it does make a sense quite a bit. So, like you said, sometimes values also can be used as inspiration to overcome our bad habits, right? So, let's say if a person having this a bad habit, what sort of values that he need add to his life in order to overcome his bad behavior? For example, let's take the our previous example of lying. So the value that he need to incorporate into his life mean life be being honest with other people. But sometimes don't you think it will be really hard for that person to incorporate the new values into his life because his mind and body is all used to his habitual behavior? So incorporating a new values might be really difficult. And in that case, I feel like the incorporating a new value is similar to incorporating a new habit or overcoming this bad habit. Those things are similar or different.
Yeah, it makes sense quite a bit. Like you said, sometimes values can be used as inspiration to overcome bad habits, right? So let's say a person has a bad habit. What sort of values does he need to add to his life to overcome that bad behavior? For example, taking the previous example of lying, the value he needs to incorporate into his life would be honesty. But don't you think it will be really hard for that person to incorporate new values into his life because his mind and body are used to his habitual behavior? Incorporating new values might be really difficult. And in that case, I feel like incorporating a new value is similar to creating a new habit or overcoming a bad habit. Are those things similar or different? Feedback 1. Having this a bad habit. Corrected to has a bad habit for proper grammar. 2. What sort of values that he need add? Change to what sort of values does he need to add for correct question structure? 3, mean life B, being honest, adjusted to would be honesty for clarity and fluency. 4, mind and body is all used to this, corrected to mind and body are used to his habitual behavior for subject verb agreement. 5, incorporating in new values, change to incorporating new values for proper plural form. You're absolutely right. Incorporating new values can feel like creating a new habit because both require conscious effort and repetition. Values provide the why behind the change, while habits are the how. Overcoming a bad habit often starts with aligning actions to the value you want to live by. For example, if someone values honesty, they can practice small steps like telling the truth in low-stakes situations, gradually building the habit of honesty. Does this comparison make sense to you?
Yeah, it helped. And can you clarify me what you meant by the value define why and the habits explain how? And can you explain me a little bit further?
Yeah, it helped. Can you clarify what you meant by values defining the why and habits explaining the how? Can you explain it a little further? Feedback. 1. Clarify me what you meant. Change to clarify what you meant for correct phrasing. 2. Explain me a little bit further. Adjusted to explain it a little further for natural phrasing. Sure, values define the why because they represent your deeper motivations and purpose. For example, if you value honesty, your why is wanting to build trust and maintain integrity in your relationships. Habits, on the other hand, are the how because they are the repeated actions that help you live according to your values. For instance, being honest might mean developing the habit of speaking truthfully, even in small matters. In short, values are the guiding principles, and habits are the practical steps to live by those principles.
So let's suppose I'm asking this question, regarding getting inspiration for myself as well. So let's suppose there is a person who want to build a good life and he aspire to be a good person in his future. So right now, how does he come up with a certain type of values that he need to incorporate into his life in order to achieve the life he want in future? Let's say he don't have any idea about what he need to incorporate currently, but he has this aim to be a good person in his future, in a financially, relationship, and as well as a social life. So how does he actually decide what type of values he need to be incorporate into his life?
Yeah, so let's suppose I'm asking this question for inspiration for myself as well. Let's say there's a person who wants to build a good life and aspires to be a good person in the future. How does he come up with the values he needs to incorporate into his life to achieve the life he wants in the future? For example, he has no idea what values to incorporate right now, but he aims to be a good person in terms of finances, relationships, and social life. How does he decide what type of values he needs to incorporate into his life? Feedback. 1. I'm asking this question, regarding getting inspiration from myself. Simplified to, I'm asking this question for inspiration for myself, for clarity. 2. He aspired to be, corrected to he aspires to be, for proper subject-verb agreement. 3. He don't have any idea, changed to he has no idea, for correct grammar. 4. What type of values he need to be incorporate into his, adjusted to what type of values he needs to incorporate into his life, for natural phrasing and completeness. To decide on values, he can start by reflecting on the kind of person he wants to be and the life he envisions. For example, if he wants financial stability, he might prioritize values like discipline, responsibility, and continuous learning. For strong relationships, he might focus on honesty, empathy, and respect. Socially, values like kindness, generosity, and integrity could guide him. A good starting point is to think about role models or people he admires. What values do they embody? This can help him identify the principles he wants to adopt. Does this approach sound helpful?
Yeah, it actually helpful. And I think in the term of when we're deciding what type of values that we need to incorporate into our life, religion and our culture is also playing a significant role, because if you look at most of the religion, they taught this kindness and helping to other peoples. And in most of the religion, it considers as a fundamental rule or a value that they need to follow, which is ultimately lead to a being a good human in the society. So I think it really helps. I think religion is also playing a significant part as a person who are trying to find the values into his life. And I think that is why religions are really embedded with the humans, because they taught something deep concept and values to the peoples.
Sorry, I'm having issues right now. Could not understand what you said.
So I think when it comes to deciding values, religion and culture is also playing a significant role in human society, because if we look at religions, one of the key principles that they taught is kindness and helping to each other. So I think the religion and culture is also giving some inspiration and some core fundamentals guidance to the people who are seeking to incorporate a lot of values into their lives.
I think when it comes to deciding values, religion and culture also play a significant role in human society. If we look at religions, one of the key principles they teach is kindness and helping each other. So I think religion and culture also provide inspiration and core guidance to people who are seeking to incorporate values into their lives. Feedback 1. Religion and culture is also playing. Change to religion and culture also play for subject-verb agreement. 2. Helping to each other, corrected to helping each other for natural phrasing. 3. Giving some inspiration and some core fundamentals guidance, adjusted to provide inspiration and core guidance for smoother phrasing. You're right. Religion and culture often offer strong moral frameworks and values that guide people in making decisions and living a meaningful life. They can give a sense of direction for those seeking to align their actions with their deeper beliefs. Do you think you draw inspiration from religion or culture in shaping your own values?
Personally, yes, because sometimes I think one of the value that I am having is, I don't know whether it is 100% truth. I think in most cases I trying to help other people, especially for my friends. When they ask me help, if I can do it, I will definitely do it. I think that is actually come to me from my religion and as well as the culture. So likewise, I think there are some inspiration that people are having. So what is your final opinion regarding our values?
Personally, yes, because sometimes I think one of the values I have is, I'm not sure if it's 100% true, but in most cases, I try to help others, especially my friends. When they ask for help, if I can do it, I will definitely do it. I think that value has come to me from my religion as well as from my culture. Likewise, I think there are many inspirations people have. What is your final opinion regarding our values? Feedback. 1. One of the values that I am having, simplified to one of the values I have for natural phrasing. 2. If I can do it, I will definitely do it. Slight adjustment to make it flow more smoothly. 3. That has actually come to me from my religion as well as the culture. Adjusted to, that value has come to me from my religion as well as from my culture. For clarity, it's wonderful that you're reflecting on how your values come from religion and culture. Values are deeply personal, and they shape how we interact with others and navigate life. Ultimately, they guide us toward becoming the people we aspire to be. I believe that values, whether learned through culture, religion, or personal experience, are what help us make decisions and find meaning in life. It's great that you're considering how to align them with your actions.